In this episode, we're making hibiscus decorated floral bars with an infused hibiscus tea in the recipe. This is a luxury cold process recipe, and today I'm going to show you how this is made, along with some tips on infusions and piping your flowers. For those of you who are already members at Thermal Mermaid, if you want to go straight to the recipe and to the full tutorial version of this video, you can find this listed in the cold process category in the recipe directory, and that one is titled Hibiscus Infused Soap, and that's right here. Now, if you aren't a member, but you're interested in learning how to make soap at home, you can find more information on joining our crafters community at the link below this video. So let's get started on this project. In my hand, I have a hibiscus tea, and by simmering this down into my olive oil, we're going to create an infusion in just a few hours where plain dried flower petals would need weeks to steep. Now here, you see that I've taken my olive oil and I've added 1 cup of dried hibiscus tea. And I'm going to place this in a double boiler on a low simmer for about 2 hours. The hibiscus in this project is not meant to be used as a colorant. One of the first things that you may notice is what a beautiful royal magenta the flowers may have in your tea, and that if you ground it down, you could get a nice color from this. Well, you can buy a raspberry magenta hibiscus powder as a colorant from your soap supply stores, and that can be used in hot process and melt and pour, but not in cold process soap. The hibiscus is very high in acid, and if you try to use it as a colorant, you'll end up getting a variety of dramatic colors that will go through transmogrification when it reacts with the lye, including green and burnt browns. So this is exactly why we're not grinding the tea down. I want its properties to steep into the oil, but not the color. Hibiscus is packed with alpha hydroxy acids, which are one of the coveted miracle ingredients in skincare, so it's also something that you can find in goat's milk. So the infused oil here is being used for its perceived properties, not for decoration. I'm going to carefully strain all of the organic pieces out of the oil and get started with the first part of our project. Now I'll melt down my hard oils and blend them into the soft oils, but notice that I'll leave out the shea butter. I don't want to add that one in yet. I'm going to add 1.5 ounces of fragrance oil. Now the hibiscus tea is a beautiful, rich, deep floral fragrance, but that isn't going to translate through the saponification. A similar fragrance is Crafter's Choice Love Spell, which you may recognize as a dupe to a popular Victoria's Secret product. Now I'm going to mix this for just a few minutes and let the batter combine. And then when I'm satisfied, I'm going to add the shea butter and finish emulsifying. Again, most of the shea in this recipe is the superfat, so the feeling of this bar is going to be rich and smooth because most of the shea butter here is not going to be turned into soap, it's just going to stay shea and float in the bar.
Isn't how you find the one that I am through with playing games.
The base of this bar is going to have a nice light floral swirl to it. I'm going to separate it out into 3 parts. The largest part will be colored white, 1 part pink with Cosmic Caroline, and 1 part green with Soapberry Green. Now I'm going to blend these colors right back down, and then you're going to see me transfer everything back together into one bowl again, and then from there I'm going to transfer it over into the mold. Now the soap is going to set up fairly quickly as I'm working, and I want to get this mixed together in a nice, light, wispy swirl. These bars, they're going to end up being the canvas for the real decor, which we're going to add afterward. So you can end up blending these colors back together with whichever technique you want. Most of the design will be covered up. And the colors that we're using here right now are nice light floral colors, but these are just background colors. Now that this is completely poured into the mold, we'll set this aside for 24 hours and let it set up. Now once it's become solid, it goes onto the cutter and we slice it into 11 pieces, and you can now see how pretty this wispy design has become. And now we have the canvas that's going to hold the second part of the project, the hibiscus flower.
On and on to someone new, as if no one knew what I was going through. I know you think I'm
Now it's time to make another pound of soap, and we'll separate that out into the colors that we want. This bold tropical pink will be the main part, and then the rest of these are just accent colors, so we only need just a few ounces of our other three colors. Now these colors are going to be mixed just to a nice light medium trace. The batter here is still pourable and not at all piping texture. In fact, I want to let the soap set up in the bag. So we're going to get this transferred, and here you can see how I'm going to do this. I'm going to transfer the raspberry color first. When I grab the piping bag, I'm going to grab the tip and twist the bottom to close it up and fold it over the palm of my hand while I open up the bag. Hold it steady in your hand and then pour the soap right in. Then I'm going to carefully place it upright into a clean measuring cup or a container and just leave it to become firm over the next few minutes. Just make sure that the bottom is tightly secure, because if it isn't, the soap is still loose and it'll just pour right out the bottom. The hibiscus flower is going to embellish the surface of the bar, and these fresh cut bars are still soft. To get the flower to cure to the surface, I'm going to draw deep hatch marks into the face of the bars where the flower will be piped on, and then I'm going to spritz the surfaces down with rubbing alcohol. Now watch as I pipe the 5 flower petals. The small end of the piping tip is pointed to the outside of the petal, and the fat end is pointed to the inside of the petal. To create each petal, I'm going to start right where I imagine the inside of the flower will be, and draw upward slowly and then back down in a U shape. And I'm going to just turn the bar just slightly to overlap each petal until there are 5 ruffled petals. And then I'll do this again so you can see it again. Again, the thin part of the tip is on the outside of the petal, and that fat round edge is on the inside. Now you'll notice here that the edges of my petals are coming out a little bit rugged and ruffled, and this is what happens when I pipe flowers using the recipe with the palm shortening, because those fat molecules are so big the texture ends up coming out a bit like Play-Doh. Now this will keep firming up, so with this recipe you do need to move along at this stage before it becomes too thick, but as you can see here we have plenty of time to get all these flowers piped on here. Now don't forget, if you liked watching how this luxury bath soap is made, you can subscribe to this channel and watch how we make all sorts of bath cosmetics that you can also make at home. And if you want to ask questions or you want to see what other people are making, come on over to the Facebook group and get a peek at what soap makers do in their spare time. The link to the Facebook group is right down below this video.
and that I can't rewrite the ending, but to move on and on and on to someone new isn't how you find the one that I am through with playing games. You are not just a flavor of the day. This time, you are more than the flavor of the day.
Next, we're going to take the smaller leaf tip and we're going to add in a little bit of accent foliage right around the edges of our flowers.
Know what to expect, but I'm sure that if I just kept moving on and on and on to someone new, I would have never understood that I had you who gave it.
The pistil of a hibiscus is really large and pronounced, so we're just going to draw a solid white line across your flower petals, sort of in a decorative way that looks like they fit into the flower. And we'll do this on each one of them, and then the stamen of the flower are just going to be small little orange dots that will decor around the pestle so that we can see what this flower looks like. And as we draw this on, you'll see that they slowly take shape. And once these have had a few days to set up, you can then get a glimpse of what the finished product looks like.